Right, okay. Carrying on towards abstraction project, so looking at more stylised ways of working, I thought I'd demonstrate this exercise. It's like a take on Cubism, and I think we've probably done this before. I don't know if you remember it or not, but I've certainly done this with some of my groups, so may have done it before. So I thought it just might be quite a nice one to do, and it was requested by the Tuesday group, so I thought this might be quite good. So with Cubism started off looking quite like this, so like sort of very fragmented, and the idea I think was that you're trying to draw somebody or a setup, but from multiple points of view. So you get these little fragmented, slightly stylised ways of working, and then it developed to these sorts of paintings and these two. So in this one, the shapes are a bit more recognisable, but they're still abstracted or stylised. So this could be like a violin or a guitar or something like that. This exercise is one that I found in a drawing book once, and it's quite a nice sort of take on Cubism, and it introduces us into a slightly different way of drawing. So rather than sitting at a fixed viewpoint and using conventional perspective drawing, the idea of this is to look from multiple angles, okay, and then draw in that way. So we've still got the collage stuff from last week, we want to use that, and Heather's brought in a lovely collection of wallpaper samples that we're also using. Sorry? Yeah. So what I thought I'd start with the drawing exercise, and then if people wanted to next week, we could kind of develop it maybe into collage or painting or something like that. So the idea is to set some sort of still life setup. I put this on a board. When I've run this before, we've kind of sat around a table and drawn from different angles and then moved around. But it occurred to me that it'd be easy to actually just sit still and move the still life on it. Much easier, particularly with a big group. That only occurred to me this Tuesday. So the idea is that you have something in the middle, and unfortunately I haven't really got anything. I thought I had a collection of bottles, but I must have left them at Rayleigh. This is a slightly small bottle, but the idea is you have the tallest object, perhaps in the middle, and that's your reference height. So I'm going to pretend that's the tallest, it's just about the tallest. With this exercise, it's a good idea to try and fill out your page. They will look more effective if you don't want a tiny little still life drawn in the middle, because they just won't won't have much impact. I've got a couple of examples here actually. So these are from one of my students in Rayleigh. So this was the first time I did this, I think it was 2011 apparently. And this was another couple of goes in 2017. We had another go. It's been quite a popular exercise. So the idea is you start off with a line drawing. So if I just work this, so I'm going to start with the bottle, and so I want to leave a bit of room down here. So maybe I'll end that about there. Shelley's brought this lovely bust in, so that adds a nice contrast of shapes. So that could be really interesting to have that in there somewhere. Just going to make that slightly lower. And my drawing's not going to be terribly accurate. You could, with this exercise, you could alter the scale of objects if you want to. If you think it's going to create a stronger design by making one bit bigger and another bit smaller, then by all means do that. And you could have a few goes at this and then just evaluate which ones you think come out the best. And they might be the ones to go on and develop into a painting or a collage another week. So that's supposed to be the nose shape. The line will be there. That could be the slightly simplified version of the bust. It's coming down here. And then I can pop this, actually move that in slightly. This can go in here, the line. And then that will take me. And what you're aiming to do is create sort of overlap. You don't have to draw everything right at once. I might put the teacup in though, I might like the teacup. And then maybe that can do that, and then perhaps I'll rotate it. Let's see how that looks. That might be quite interesting. So now I've got, so again, what I do now is I keep the bottle is like a reference, the bit in the middle. So if you're confused where to draw, I can see the other side of the bottle now, which I couldn't before. I can draw that through there. And then got this vase behind it. It's coming in about there. The jug. Actually, I need a little bit more over here. Actually, so actually, probably I think I'll pop the bust in again. It's quite nice seeing that shape on the top. Coming down to here. Maybe have another go. Leave something over here. Quite nice to get a little bit of this jug in. And again, that's the bottle. So the jug would come in about here. Something a little bit like that. So you're getting overlapping shapes. And once you've got enough, and feel free to improvise if you feel like it needs a bit of something here, pop it in there. You could then add tone, colour, whatever you want. It might be easier to stick to maybe one or two colours or tones. So I'll use this purple, for instance. So I'm seeing here, so maybe this bit here, tone in, and then when I get to that bit there, I'll stop because I can see a little bit of the bust there. So if I'm making that dark, I'll leave that bit there light. Perhaps go for another or more colour.
So then you've got to decide whether you put the statue in or the jug in, because they're sort of.
It's going to be just a bit random. You're just but you could decide what to include as you go. Yeah. I mean, that might not be the best place to put that, to be honest. I probably preferred it before I put that in, but I have now. So, but it might be nice, say, to have the teacup again repeated back here. Yeah. So yeah, just feel free to. So maybe I'll use perhaps a purple and orange. That bit. Maybe I was going to make orange. Let's make that bit orange. And create this pattern of lights and darks. It's kind of rhythmic shape. So if you've got some oranges here, perhaps some orange down here might work quite nicely. Pastel's nice and quick, but it could be any sort of paint you've got. It doesn't really particularly matter the medium.
So you don't necessarily keep one colour for each of the items?
No. The idea is for them to be just about recognisable as what they are, but it's just like a stylised version. So, yeah, I mean, we're really sort of taking your inspiration from these sorts of paintings. Yeah, just keep going, just keep improvising, maybe some orange here. That might work quite nicely. Let's go back to purple. Maybe this bit could be purple. So it's, yeah, probably, I mean, I think it works with a few tones or a few colours. Yeah. It will just all fragment if you have too much. The other thing is thinking about the background. I've kind of kept this plain, but actually if you had something like a pattern going through here, that might be quite interesting. Like a scarf, or I've got a scarf somewhere, and I thought maybe, you know, that might look, because you might have the directions that way or that way. It's just improvise, play, see what you can come up with. But the main thing to remember is don't make your things too small. You know, make them a decent size so you've got a nice kind of overall design. So if you fancy doing that, you don't have to, but I've got various still life objects here. And I've got a couple of bits of board with this bin